Oh, hey there, this is Heather Langenkamp calling for Dustin.
Heather, how you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
I am excellent. It's an honor to be speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, Heather, first of all, we've got a chance to meet you here in Minnesota coming up at the Crypticon convention in Bloomington. Is this the first time for you coming to a convention like this here in Minnesota?
I believe I've been to Minneapolis before for the Crypticon maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I know that I've been to Minnesota before. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, there's definitely some big fans here, and that'll be coming up September 6th and 7th. And I know you're going to be joined by a few other Elm Street alumni as well. It seems kind of regardless of what installment or sequel in that film series, the casts all seem to be pretty close with one another.
Yeah, I know over the years, because of these conventions mainly, but, we all most of us still live in Los Angeles, so we try to get together whenever possible. But these shows really not only bring fans to us, but we bring, we get to see each other and catch up and have fun together, and we, been following each other's families, watching our kids grow up, and now it's 35 years later for Nightmare on Elm Street, and I guess it's 30 years for Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 this year is the anniversary, so getting together. I know Jennifer Rubin is going to be there, and Ken Sagos, who played Kincaid, and myself, so yeah, it's a mini reunion. We always have a great time, and I love Ken Sagos. We always have a blast together.
Well, Heather, how is it for you meeting the fans at conventions like this? Obviously, horror fans, very passionate. Nightmare on Elm Street fans, probably even more so. So I imagine you probably see just about everything you can imagine.
I see everything and more than you can imagine. Every time I come to a show, I'm always surprised by one or two fans that, either tell me a story about, proposing to their wife while watching the film, or, taking their grandmother to see it, or, an unexpected story about how they were introduced to the movies by, maybe their cousins. Always humorous, and my fans have such a great sense of humor, and they all, I go and I end up feeling like $1 million after a weekend because they just really fill me up with so many nice compliments, but also I get to see how the movies have changed their lives for the better. You would never think a horror movie would do this for people, but I think in the case of Nightmare on Elm Street, everyone seems to have really benefited from their ability to, watch these movies, critique the movies, hold them dear to their heart, and introduce their friends to the movies. It's a big social party, really. And if you have Nightmare on Elm Street in common with somebody, you kind of feel like their buddy immediately.
Well, again, Heather is going to be at the Crypticon coming up at Bloomington, Minnesota here, September 6th and 7th. And I wanted to ask you a bit about how you got the job as Nancy on that first film. And I can't imagine you had any inkling that people would still be talking about it, 35 years later.
No, it was actually one of the more, low-down kind of interviews that I went to. It was, extremely low budget for the time. There wasn't even any furniture in the casting offices. I remember I had to sit on the floor waiting for my audition, and just sat there and looked at they're just 2 or 3 pages they give you. They don't give you the whole script when you're auditioning oftentimes. So it was a scene where I'm with, Tina, and I'm with Johnny Depp. I'm Glenn's character, and it's the scene where we're kind of having a little party before the sleepover at Tina's house. So it was a really average, like even John Hughes movie kind of kids getting together, having a fun time, joking with each other. It was such, good-natured fun. Basically, we're eating popcorn, we're not doing anything terrible. And so it didn't really occur to me that this was going to be, a classic horror movie. I didn't even really probably think about that element of it. And then as time goes and you get to read more of the script, I might not have read the whole script until I got the part. I'm trying to think back, but it was pretty rare to have the chance to read the script until you were offered the part. And so I read it, and, reading about the blood and gore on the page is not nearly, my my imagination just isn't really great enough to even conceive of the horror that Wes Craven had in mind. So when I read the script even, I thought, oh, that's kind of gross. Ooh, getting, smashed up on the ceiling and all the things that happened to my friends in the movie didn't strike me as being particularly bloody or anything like that. But of course, in Wes Craven's hands, it all came to pass that it, was gorgeous and beautiful, and he did a great job and introduced a lot of America to a slasher movie.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned kind of a John Hughes sort of vibe going in, and then eventually you become really one of the final girl icons of the whole genre. Were you excited to continue making more films in that genre, or did you feel like maybe you had to go in that direction, or maybe both, or what was that like?
Well, I certainly was asked to audition for a lot of horror movies, in the following years. But, truthfully, in my heart, I just never found that there were any parts that even held a candle to Nancy. And I thought often, why would I do a movie that was not as good as Nightmare on Elm Street? I always wanted to do things that were better. And whether that meant being in a horror movie or any kind of movie, I wanted to take on parts that were just as good as Nancy Thompson or better. And, honestly, it was pretty rare to find a part that was that well crafted and such a great character and who was so interesting, such interesting relationships with the people in her life. And, I don't know what the reason is, but a lot of female roles, suffer from not being that well-rounded or that fleshed out. And I really felt that because I never have found a part since Nancy that I was so excited about playing. And I didn't get as many opportunities to, play characters like Nancy. So looking back, it's almost that situation where, you have maybe your peak as your high school quarterback. Sometimes I feel like, that was the best time of my life because I was given a part that was really one of the best parts ever written for a woman, perhaps.
Well, I know you went on and did a lot of stuff, of course. Did a lot of TV as well, and I always thought that was cool. A lot of 80s kids, maybe if they weren't old enough to see the Elm Street movies, they saw you on Growing Pains and Just the 10 of Us.
And Just the 10 of Us,
yeah. Definitely a different role there for sure.
Yeah, well, I loved my role on Just the 10 of Us so much because she was a real quirky, interesting young woman who, wanted to be a nun and was very religious, a kind of character that you just didn't see very often on TV. She was so sweet, and they didn't, the nice thing about the show is that they, this big family, so a lot of people could relate to the relationships there, and we always tried to make people laugh. That was the main goal every day was to make people laugh, and so it was a total opposite end of the spectrum from what I did as Nancy. But just trying to get those reactions out of an audience, whether screaming or laughing, is something that, I took really seriously as an actress, and I really enjoy working to produce those kinds of feelings in the audience.
Well, Heather, this is probably an odd question, but I wanted to ask you your memories of being in ZZ Top's Sleeping Bag video. I remember seeing that all the time, too.
Well, that was such a high point because I'm from Oklahoma, so ZZ Top, what an iconic band. And I had the chance to be in that music video, and music videos at the time were little pieces of theater, little movies in and of themselves. They put in so much in the art direction and writing the scripts, and there was so much attention paid to making little stories. And it was, the highlight of the MTV era to be in a music video. So I spent the day and night, actually, I think we shot over 2 days in Big Bear, California. So we all trekked out to the mountains, and we drove around in the mountains for a while, and that cute little cabin that we shot in. It was a really fantastic experience, and I thought the video turned out really well. I really loved it.
Well, again, looking forward to seeing you at Crypticon here coming up in September, and I think it's really cool now you're working for AFX Studios. I know that's where you called me from today. It's kind of full circle for you in a way, and now you're the one making the masks and the makeup and all that.
I know my husband's, business here. He and his dad have started this business, in the 90s, and so they've been making makeup effects for so long. And I think I joined up with the team when my husband got the job working on Dawn of the Dead in Canada, and I realized, if I don't join him, I'm just going to be, sitting by myself at home, or not having much to do while we're on location in a foreign city. So I joined him and kind of became his helper, doing office, all the things that you have to do in the office, make the budgets and help with the personnel and making sure that 401k plan is in order. I mean, a lot of the things I do are not very exciting, not as exciting as acting, that's for sure. So I told my husband at any moment I might just quit, and you're going to have to find a new helper, because I'm really looking forward to spending more time acting or directing. I'm trying to get movies directed that I've written, and so as you get to be older, you realize the time is ticking away, and you got to light a fire under yourself sometimes.
Well, yeah, I've noticed you've got a couple things coming up. Is there more stuff maybe we should be looking out for, or stuff on the way here?
Well, I did, I've been doing little projects like some short films and stuff. I just directed my first short film. It's called Washed Away. I just found out I got accepted to a little film festival in New York City, so that was super exciting yesterday. Oh. It's called Washed Away, and it's a little ghost story. It's my first film, so I made a lot of mistakes, and I can see, next time I'm going to do this, or next time I'm going to do that. So I always believe that you learn best by doing it yourself. So I have another film lined up to do again, and each one I do, I hope I get better, and then I plan, hopefully, in the next couple of years to do a feature film. So, of course, a lot of my, fans want me to do a horror movie, so I have a couple horror movies that I'm, trying to polish up. But I also have just, simple, great love stories and comedies. There's all sorts of things I'd like to make.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to that. And, again, looking forward, of course, to meeting you here at Crypticon. Again, Heather, can you go over, some of the details with that, as far as, what you'll sign, what you won't sign, photo ops, and that sort of thing?
Sure. So I'm going to be there Friday night and Saturday. I'll sign anything you bring. I mean, as long as they let you bring it in the ballroom, I can sign it pretty much. I've signed people's, arms. I've signed people's, Freddy gloves. So a lot of people bring their collectibles that they have at home, and I sign those. And then I also offer, there's photos that over my career that you can pick out. A lot of people have been to conventions, so they probably know the deal. But the last show I went to, which happened to be in Chicago, I was really surprised. A good third of my fans told me they had never been to a convention before, and I just thought that was such great news, because it means that more and more people, new people who are just hearing about things for the first time, they're actually attending these really fun events. And Crypticon is a great event, and I've been going to them for many years, well organized, and the people just couldn't be nicer. A family runs it, and they're just great people. So if you don't have anything to do that weekend, even just buy a day ticket and walk around and check out all the fun people that you'll get to meet in just one place. It's kind of hard to believe all the people under one roof there.
Awesome. Again, Heather, I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, and it's been an honor speaking with you today, and I'm definitely looking forward to meeting you here at Crypticon.
Great. Well, come by and say hello, and I'll give you a picture, okay?
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care, Dustin.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.